Hi, I'm Eric Franklin with your Garrison Public Affairs. This week, we're learning about education services here on FortCavazos. All that and more on this great big podcast. Hey everyone, we're back, and today we have in the studio
Keisha Hoffman.
And what do you do?
I'm an education services specialist at the FortCavazos Education Center.
And how long have you been at the Education Center?
So I've been at the Education Center for a little over 3.5 years. I'm a retiree, so I did 20 years in the Army and then transitioned over to becoming a guidance counselor, and then I was promoted to an education services specialist about a year and a half ago.
Okay, so you said you retired. What did you go right into education after you got out, or what was that transition like for you?
So I didn't go into education right away. I was still in the process of finishing my master's degree when I transitioned out of the Army. In fact, that was one of the reasons I had to transition at the time, was because I needed to complete an internship and I couldn't do that while I was in the Army. It would require me to actually be in the field work of a school to be able to do that internship. And so I had to retire at that time to be able to do that and finish my master's degree. So I did that with Killeen ISD.
Okay.
And after completing that internship, I applied for a position at the Education Center.
So I know you speak that you had to do a residency, and it's not really related, but kind of related. The Army has programs with the tuition assistance for credentialing programs. Is that similar to the same thing, or is it completely different?
So for what I had to do as an intern is completely different than the credentialing assistance program. Credentialing assistance is a program that soldiers can do while they're in the Army.
Okay.
And they would basically get it paid for by the Army, where they would earn an industry-recognized credential while they're serving. So that's completely different than what I did while I was transitioning out of the Army. That wasn't something that I could do while I was in the Army.
Okay.
It would require me to actually be in the field and not serving, and actually be in a school for that entire school year.
Okay. And so with the credentialing program, how does that work?
So the Army Credentialing Assistance and Tuition Assistance Program allows service members that are serving to get $4,500 worth of education, whether they're going traditional tuition assistance, going to college, or pursuing industry-recognized credentials for the fiscal year. So a fiscal year runs from 1 October to 30 September of every year.
Okay.
So within that time frame, soldiers can basically earn credentials or go to school and earn a degree within that fiscal year and get that paid for.
So you mentioned that you were a retiree. Did you take advantage of that while you were in the service?
Yeah, so I am a beneficiary of the tuition assistance system. Credentialing assistance wasn't a thing when I retired. I retired in 2016.
Okay.
I didn't take advantage of that because it didn't exist at the time, or at least I didn't know of it.
Yeah.
But I did take advantage of the tuition assistance program. So I did earn a bachelor's degree while I was serving, and I started on my master's degree using the tuition assistance program before transitioning out of the Army.
Okay. So, I did 15 years in the Army, 14, but I didn't use any of my tuition. I felt bad almost. Once I got out and I actually went to school and I saw I don't want to say how easy school was, but how it was I needed it, because I was a chemical operations specialist when I was in the Army, and then I got out and I completely did something completely opposite. If I would have took advantage of that when I was in the Army, I think my career probably would have been a little bit different. But at the same time, I'm happy. I still use my GI Bill once I got out. But so for you, what are the trends that you're seeing with soldiers who, when it comes to getting their higher educations?
Mm-hmm. So what you just talked about, that is one of the things that actually I talk to soldiers about all the time. Don't be that guy that gets out of the Army and you didn't take advantage of all of the resources that were available to you while you're serving. even if you're not sure exactly, whether you want to pursue a degree or earn a credential, we can help you to try to figure out something. But you have all of these benefits that are available to you each year, and it's basically a use or lose thing. So if you don't use it, it just goes away. So why not? Why not try to figure out what it is that you're wanting to do? Maybe something that will help you in upward mobility while you're in the Army to get promoted, or even just earning a degree that's going to prepare you for life outside of the Army, because you're not going to be in the Army forever. So why not start thinking about those things now? So that is one of the things that I kind of hone in on soldiers to make sure they start to think, or to get help with try to figure out what it is that they're trying to do now and then preparing for long term.
Yeah. So when I first got out, I got my associate's degree in just general studies, because I just I want to get a degree. I was actually looking for a job, and it said you had to have an associate's degree, and that was the easiest thing. I went for my associate's degree, and I took my what is it called now? The thing from all my military training, and I think I only had to take 4 classes.
Your joint services.
My joint service, and I said to and that's when I said to myself, it was that easy. I had 4 classes, and it was like an algebra, a writing, a science, and 1 other class, and that was it. That's all I had to take, and I had an associate's degree. And for me, and they said, oh yeah, you could have took this while you were in the Army in 2008. You could have took this, and I was like, man, I wasted money. So I think it's important that soldiers understand, get it, it's free. It doesn't take that much time, and you probably spend more time playing video games or just hanging out with your friends when you can get that education, 1 class a semester, and you could be done.
Much value in the joint services transcript, especially if you spend some time in the Army. So the Army will basically allow you to have your experience translate to perhaps some credits towards a degree. So it's worth it to kind of look at that in your school that you choose to go to. They'll always look at that, or they should look at that to see what parts of your military experience they can give you that credit for. So that is one of the things that we talk about at the Education Center. So one of those places to start, to see a counselor. Maybe we can, kind of help you to navigate that whole path to earning that degree.
And so, with that, what would be the key message that you would tell a young soldier out there who's watching this? He's an E2. He's just got to Fort Cavazos. He's fresh. All he knows is he's a 92 Alpha, and he wants to do this for 20 years. What would you tell him about coming to the Education Center?
What I always tell soldiers is that this is a great opportunity to start. When I first came into the Army, you couldn't just use TA right away. You had a waiting period.
Had to go see your commander.
Right, you have to go see commander. Now that might change. We'll talk about that later. But so you had to wait for a period of time from the time that you graduated AIT to be able to use TA. As soon as you graduate from AIT, you can use tuition assistance to start earning, your degree or earning a credential. Use that now. Start to figure out what it is that you're wanting to do now. Even if it doesn't mean that you stay in the Army forever. Not everybody wants to serve 20 years. But start to make a plan how that degree can help you while you're serving, and then when you transition out of the Army. So start making that plan now for the future.
So can you tell me about any changes that's happened starting this year?
Last week, as we speak, there were some sweeping changes to tuition assistance and credentialing assistance policy.
Okay.
Prior to Tuesday, there was $4,000 available for soldiers each fiscal year to fund tuition assistance and credentialing. That has changed to $4,500 per fiscal year. So from 1 October to 30 September of each year, service members will have $4,500 to spend for college or earning a credential. Prior to Tuesday, the amount of semester hours that was allowed was 16 semester hours. That has changed to 18 semester hours. And credentialing assistance, that $4,000 pot the soldiers had has reduced to $2,000 per fiscal year. Soldiers are now only able to earn 1 credential per fiscal year.
Okay.
And then 3 credentials every 10-year period of time served. So, for example, a person that has served 20 years will have 3 semesters for those 10 years. So that will be a total of 6 credentials that they can earn using credentialing assistance. One of the things we want soldiers to be expecting when they go into the Army Ignited portal to request this funding is that prior to requesting credentialing assistance or tuition assistance the first time, they'll be required to complete a career path decide. If they're trying to use tuition assistance, they'll have to complete a career path decide, which is a decision supporting tool in the Army Ignited system, and they'll upload that report, and then they'll be able to request TA. For those soldiers who are trying to earn a credential, they'll be required to fill out a MilGears decision support tool in Army Ignited also. Once they fill that out, they'll have a report that they'll have to submit into that Army Ignited portal to be able to request credential assistance. So those are some things that we want soldiers to be aware of. They'll also be required to attend a mandatory briefing, an Army Ignited briefing if they're requesting tuition assistance, and a mandatory credentialing assistance briefing, CA 101 briefing, to request credentialing assistance.
And they offer all those here at the Education Services, or?
Yes, so all of those are offered at the Education Services, but this system, the Army Ignited system, is actually a portal that soldiers can access from anywhere. It's CAC enabled, so as long as they have access to a CAC and a computer that is CAC enabled, they can request credentialing assistance and tuition assistance from anywhere.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like to share about the Education Services?
The Education Services have so many resources. So we talked about tuition assistance and credentialing assistance, but we also inform soldiers about their GI Bill benefits, how that works. The post 9/11 GI Bill, which is the Chapter 33, that is a transferable benefit that soldiers can transfer to their family members. College is very expensive, so that is something that is worthwhile. In fact, I use that benefit, and I transferred a portion of my GI Bill benefits to my child, who is now going to school using that benefit. So if a soldier wants to learn more about what that process is like, the differences between the Montgomery GI Bill, for those who may have paid into that bill, we have briefings that educate soldiers on those bills and how they work, so they can make an informed decision on which one to choose later on.
All right, and thank you guys. Keisha, we want to thank you for coming out and hanging out with us. We have one more guest from the Education Services. Sit tight and we'll be right back.
You're cheap.
What's that count?
You're cheap.
Hey, y'all ready?
You're cheap.
Let's go pop some caps.
Yo, grab my weapon. It's in the chair.
Finally. Oh, man. Nice. Bang!
Oh, easy up.
Is it loaded? Is it loaded?
I don't know.
Do you want to find out? Yeah, let's find out. What do you say, huh? Ever hear the phrase, treat every weapon as if it were loaded? It's clear. Don't be an idiot next time.
And we're back, and we now have someone else in the chair. Do you mind introducing yourself?
Sure, I'm Kirsten Shahan, and I'm an Education Services Specialist at the Education Center.
So what got you into education?
So my journey's a little bit different. So I originally went to college to be a special education teacher, and pretty quickly realized that I didn't love teaching, but I loved helping my students be successful in school.
Okay.
So I transitioned, I earned my master's degree in school counseling, and then as soon as I finished my degree, my husband joined the Army. So I had a really hard time finding a job as a school counselor. I ended up working for a college for a couple of years and decided I really liked working in that environment, working with that population. So when we moved from Fort Benning to Fort Hood at the time, I applied for a job as a guidance counselor at the Education Center, and I've been there for 10 years now, working in various positions.
Okay. And so over 10 years, what has been some of the standout stories about education that just sticks with you?
So I spent a couple of years as the BSEP program manager, and I think that's really where most of the stories that hit close to my heart come from. We had so many soldiers that were trying to do so many different things but needed that higher GT score in order to be successful, whether that was to commission as a warrant officer, reclass. And we used to have BSEP graduation ceremonies where we would recognize their hard work over the course of the class. We would give special recognition to soldiers who received the highest GT score or made the biggest improvement. And watching all of those soldiers just feel so proud of the accomplishment that they had just achieved, and then having them come back and share, hey, I just was picked up for warrant officer school, or I was picked up for OCS. Hearing those stories was just amazing and probably one of my favorite parts of my job.
Okay. And BSEP, tell me again what BSEP stands for?
Sure. BSEP is the Basic Skills Education Program. It's a class that helps soldiers raise their GT score.
Okay. So the GT score is the part of when I come in, it's like all the line numbers that it has on my ERB. It's not an ERB anymore. I think it's a service record brief now, but okay. So for you, and seeing that, how did that make you feel to know that you're having such a big impact on these young soldiers' lives?
I think it's why I got into this realm of counseling, because I can see what an education can do for someone and the positive impact it can have on their life. Watching soldiers, also at another event that we hold, graduation, watching how proud they are to know that they've completed something hard and they can now take that and be really anything they want to be, whether that's in the Army or outside of the Army. It's so rewarding to know that I played a part in that. I played a part in making sure that you are going to be successful, both in the Army and outside of the Army. Your family is going to be more successful because of this choice that you made to enroll in college. And I'm so proud to be able to have a small part in that.
Okay. So you mentioned going to college. And you guys also have scholarship programs, don't you?
So we don't specifically have scholarships, but we encourage soldiers to apply for scholarships. There are thousands of scholarships available to service members, spouses, children, and they range anywhere from a couple $100 to a couple $1,000.
And when does that window open, or when is the best time for people wanting to go apply for those scholarships? When should they start looking?
So each scholarship is going to be a little bit different. Usually scholarships will open for registration or application right around the time that a traditional school year starts, in about August or September.
Okay.
But we have a really great scholarship list available at the Education Center that's divided up a number of scholarships for those different populations. And on that paper, we also tell soldiers and family members when they need to apply for those scholarships, so they can see the link to apply as well as the date that they need to apply by.
Okay. And so you said it's not just for the service members, it's for their families as well?
Yep.
Okay. And I can go online, or I just have to come into the Education Center to get that?
So you can come to the Education Center for the list that we've compiled, but there's also a really great website called militaryscholar.org, where soldiers and family members can put in some information about themselves, and a whole list of scholarships that they qualify for will populate based off their military affiliation.
Okay. And for, I asked our last guest, but for you, what would be that one thing that you would tell soldiers about the Education Center if they're on the fence about, I don't really want to go get an education because I don't plan on going to school once I get done?
So one of my favorite things to tell soldiers is my job isn't to force you to earn a college degree. That's not what I'm here for. My job is to help you start planning for your future, both in the military and as a civilian. So maybe for you right now, you're focused solely on being successful in the Army. So let's enroll you in BSEP so you can raise your GT score and maybe you can commission or reclass. Then when you get to that new MOS or you get into that new branch, maybe you want to become credentialed so you can become more proficient in your field. So let's talk about credentialing assistance. Then maybe the time comes that you know you're getting out and the job you want requires a degree. So then maybe we start planning for that degree. So the best thing a soldier can do is come to the education center early so we can create that plan for you. And that plan may not even require you to go to college depending on the career that you want as a civilian. But we offer so many resources to help soldiers and to help them for free that it's a waste if you don't come early on in your career to learn about all of the different options you have available to you.
Okay. All right. Well, is there anything else you would like to highlight about education services, about the great things that you guys are obviously doing over there?
Yeah, and we do. We offer so many great services, counseling being one of them. We offer testing if soldiers want to take things like the DLPT, or if they want to take a D-Lab, which is required typically for them to go special forces or sometimes to become an officer, a warrant officer. We also have a computer lab that soldiers are welcome to use. And then we have a couple of big events that we host throughout the year. We have our college credentialing and career fair, usually every spring, where soldiers and family members can speak to different colleges, credentialing agencies, and in some cases even have interviews on the spot for civilian careers. We've started hosting what we call our Back to School Bash in August, where we feed soldiers and family members. We give them all kinds of information about programs available to them. And the past couple of years, we've even given out free backpacks to family members and soldiers that can be used either for them or kids going back to school. They're filled with school supplies. And then every October, we have our graduation ceremony where we recognize anyone, soldier, family, veteran, who's graduated within the past year that would like to walk at a graduation ceremony. So in addition to everything we do every day, we also have some really great, I would say, not so often events that we hold too.
Okay. And where are you guys located on the installation?
So we're in the Soldier Development Center, so building 33009 on 761st Tank Battalion. If anybody knows where Popeyes is, we are the big building right across from Popeyes.
All right, that's pretty great. We'd like to thank you for coming out. And again, everyone, the education service right behind Popeyes, so you can go get your education on, and then you go get your snack, and then go back to work. Again, we'd like to thank you for coming out and telling us everything great about the education services.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're in the mix with the man who sets the turntables on fire. Here comes the beat.
I'm literally en route right now, man. Wait, hang on. This song is my jam. All right, so look, tonight we're on Elm Street, right? I'm only about 10 minutes out. And listen, don't worry about Willie, okay? I'm gonna make sure he's there. He's gonna be there. I'm gonna shoot him a text right now, okay? Out.
Sergeant Mathers prides himself in his ability to multitask, on or off duty. Only one problem. Studies show that successful multitasking while at the wheel is not possible. The stats were against him. Reaching for that burger made it 8 times more likely he'd crash. Did you know distracted driving causes nearly 50% of all accidents? All in all, it injures almost 400,000 people a year and kills nearly 4,000. On or off duty, distracted driving is deadly. The bottom line, if you drive while distracted, then you're not driving.
Hi, and welcome back to the Great Bit Podcast. I'm Derica Upshaw with your FortCavazos Garrison Public Affairs, and I have with me
Monty Campbell, also with the FortCavazos Public Affairs Office.
All right, Monty, we had a great episode. We had 2 education services personnel come in today and give us great news about what they have going on in their office.
Absolutely. The tuition assistance has increased to $4,500, $4,500. So $500 more than it was before, which every dollar counts here when you talked about education. I mean, I know I have my master's degree. Education is very important to me. Education is key for life. What would we do without our education?
Right, and even if the $4,500 does not take them all the way through, the Education Services also has a list of scholarships that they can apply for from other resources.
Absolutely. And who doesn't need help with their education, with their cost? Cost of education today is unreal. So any assistance we can get and then guide them to the education service office, which is directly behind Popeyes. It's too easy. Too easy. And I mean, like, they're there throughout the day to help with anything they may need, and they can also go online and look at their page of all the services that they offer. So they have multiple ways to get in touch with the education services, and I'm so glad that they're always willing to help the service members and their families. Absolutely, that's what they're there for. So right. I'm super excited about that. I am too, but I am super excited about not being in this inclement weather from last week anymore. That weather was unreal. Normally, I mean, here we are in Texas, Central Texas. We don't get that cold weather. That cold weather last week, unreal, below freezing. I mean, you got to stay in when it gets that bad, because the roads here, the infrastructure and the services that the road departments have, they just don't have what we're used to up north. I'm from Illinois, so when it snows there or sleets there, the roads are cleared and we don't have to worry about it as much. Here, it's dangerous. Right, and I'm from Alabama, so I know what Texas is going through. Our roads, we're not prepared for them either. But what I did was just stay in the house, curl up under my blanket, and like watch Netflix and Paramount all day. It was nice. I can't wait for the playoffs coming up this weekend. We have down to the final 8 teams. Super Bowl. Hopefully my Rams will win the Super Bowl this year, so you never know what can happen. Never know. That's all that we have for you today. Thank you for watching the Great Bit Podcast. Bye.